Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Your Excellency, President of Azad Jammu and Kashmir, Your Excellencies, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by thanking His Excellency Shamshad Ahmed, the Chairman of Lahore Center for Peace Research and President of Institute of Strategic Thinking for organizing this very timely conference. It's very timely because Shamshad Ahmed Saab also referred to the threat of nuclear weapons, and also you will know that the Chief of Indian Army has threatened Pakistan with nuclear weapons. And only a few days ago, the Indian news agencies declared that they are going to test K4, which is 3,500 kilometer range nuclear missile, which would be launched from underwater platform. Pakistan, of course, had to respond with surface-to-surface missile a few days ago. The reason why I'm making this point is that whilst people around the world, and maybe those of us who live in the West, we think that we are too far from these nuclear weapons. But these type of range that they are discussing, it's not very far from India and this region. It's also timely because 108 days that have been mentioned of lockdown, of internet, phones, no universities, no colleges, no jobs. In fact, you could just imagine those who work on a daily wage, that they don't have any food left. There's hardly any medicine, and there are nothing available because thousands upon thousands, hundreds of thousands of soldiers are on the streets of Kashmir. But you know, last time I was here at the TRT World Forum, and we talked about Kashmir, and the Indian diplomat stood up and he said, you know, we are the largest democracy in the world. And I want to just touch on that this is the largest democracy in the world with 200 million Muslims that does not have a single representative from BJP in the parliament. This is the largest democracy in the world where Dalits, Sikhs, where minorities, even Christians, are treated so badly as though they are. But this is not a democracy, I want to remind you. This is Hindutva philosophy. If you know something about the Nazis, if you know something about fascism, then this is it. Because this has got nothing to do with Hindu religion. Look, I respect all religions. As far as I'm concerned, the Quran says, Lakum deenukum waliyuddin, la ikraha fid deen. There is no compulsion in religion. You are to your religion, I am to mine. And I respect those Hindus. But just like those Buddhist monks in Burma or in Sri Lanka, those who have killed thousands of Muslims over there, they didn't have anything to do with religion. Neither does this Hindutva philosophy. But the frightening thing is that this regime also controls everything, whether it is media, whether it is their courts. And you saw what happened with Ayodhya Babri Mosque, the oldest mosque with 500-year history. Remember when the Taliban destroyed the Buddhas in Afghanistan? The whole world, media and the whole world leaders, even President Bush came out to speak about this despicable act. But nobody has said anything. Even, it's like, let me give you an example, Your Excellencies. If somebody comes, takes over your house, and then goes to the court, or you go to court, and the court says, it's okay, you can build your house somewhere else, and let him have it because he's taken over this house. This is exactly what the Indian court has done. And so therefore, you see that this democracy also lies, fabricates. Recent reports in the European disinformation lab that you've seen, 265 outlets in Europe, in 65 countries, which are on daily basis on internet, whether it is the Twitter, Facebook, everywhere else, they are linking Pakistan with terrorism, linking Kashmiris with terrorism, and sadly, the world, I don't think the world is actually listening, because I'm very pleased that Al Jazeera, TRT, Washington Post, New York Times, Guardian, BBC, all have exposed their lies in Indian occupied Kashmir. So on a similar basis, I'm just going to take 2 or 3 minutes extra just to explain the background. You may remember on 27th of July, the Indian government said that there was an imminent threat. And so they had to send 10,000 extra soldiers in the valley, bearing in mind that there are 700,000 soldiers already in the Indian occupied Kashmir and in the valley. And so they sent extra 10,000 soldiers. On 4th of August, this is the point that I want to make, is that governments don't normally tell blatant lies. They don't normally organize press conferences and say, we have information of imminent threat to our pilgrims, Hindu pilgrims who are here. We want them to come back, because on the 4th they said they could be attacked. And what they really meant, 30,000 extra soldiers went in on the streets of Valley in Srinagar, and on 5th of August, they revoked Article 370 and 35A special status to Kashmir. Yes, it's under occupation for 73 years. Yes, but there was this agreement, bilateral agreement. I didn't like it. Many Kashmiris didn't like it. But they had a special agreement with the Indian government. And suddenly, unilaterally, the government of India got rid of that agreement and became an occupying force. And the world community hasn't said anything. And I know that a reference has been mentioned to the international community. Well, let's be honest. When we heard yesterday the American administration saying that illegal occupation of Palestine is no longer considered as illegal, that's breach of international law, blatant breach of international law. What kind of message does that give to India? What type of message does that give to other occupying forces? So therefore, when you, and we saw that thousands of youth have been arrested, violence against them, rape, all sorts of things have happened. But this fascist regime is not going to end, and I'm sorry if I'm, in the next 2 days, and both these centers are going to talk about how peace can be obtained and how right of self-determination could be given to the Kashmiri. I do not honestly believe, I'm sorry, I do not believe that India, and especially BJP and RSS fascist regimes, Hitler did not sit down with those in France and in Norway and Poland and all those countries that they had occupied. They had to be forced out. And I'm sorry, but if people think that this fascist regime will just somehow come up with a placard and say, hey, we are in for peace and we want to make peace with Pakistan, it's not going to happen. Because they have this vision of Akhand Bharat, this greater India. And therefore, when my friend Ranjit Singh Sarai is here, I totally support the Khalistan movement, and I support all those other states which have been forcefully occupied by this Indian regime. Just finally, I know I've taken a little bit of time, but I just want to say that one of the most respected Kashmiri leaders, Sayyid Ali Gilani, has said that Pakistan also has to respond to India's aggression and their unilaterally rescinding Article 370. I think that Pakistan should now rescind the previous agreements like Simla agreement, because I think that India for too long, and the international community for too long, has been trying to tie Pakistan down to this Simla agreement, that it's a bilateral issue and only India and Pakistan should resolve this issue of Kashmir and all outstanding issues. India is not going to do it. They haven't done it in the last 50 years. And with the extremist and fascist regime in control today, they will not do it because they can just carry on blaming Pakistan and accusing them of terrorism, whilst we know that Mr. Gulbashan, what's his name, who is in Pakistan, and there are many. In fact, last week there were 2 who were arrested and who are being questioned because it's India that sponsors terrorism in Pakistan, pays, funds, facilitates, and then blames Pakistan. Thank you very much, and I look forward to listening to your speeches.